Hello, Peter Cox here again. Every day, been here, well, a week or two now. Hopefully we're not boring you. We have something different to talk about each day. This is Mark Thomas, author of 99%. I'll give you the full title. How We've Been Screwed and How to Fight Back. Mark is a business strategist and probably mathematical genius, actually. Mark, would you agree with that or not?
No, I really wouldn't.
No,
there are mathematical geniuses, but... That's a bit like taking somebody who played junior Wimbledon and asking them if they're one of the all-time tennis greats.
It was a loaded question. I was just saying just to test you, just to see how big the idea is.
Yes.
One of the many things I've learned in our discussions over the past few days, and been shocked by actually, is that there is no legal. You might say there's a moral, but there's certainly no legal obligation on the British government, maybe on many other governments too. It's only one I know about, to actually take decisions in the best interests of the population. There's not. So instead of that, what we've seen is, I suppose, really very partial decisions that operate to the great financial gain of an awfully small number of people, while the rest of us, the 99% you talk about in your book, actually suffer. So I just want to, and some of this is bad news, I'd like to look on the other side of the coin today and just speculate a little bit about how things could be if we did take decisions, or if our government took decisions on the basis of the greater good, the greater happiness for more people. At the moment, you've said this thing to me in the past. You've said that the way we're going is to be Singapore on Thames. Singapore on Thames. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's not my phrase. It's a phrase which has been used by several members of the current Tory party as a possible destination for the UK after Brexit. And what they mean by that is a highly deregulated, low-tax economy. And low tax, of course, also means very low spending. So that means you dismantle the social safety net and probably have to privatise healthcare and so on. So you end up with London sitting just off the coast of continental Europe, acting like Singapore, a very deregulated, low-wage, low everything economy, and able to, because of that, be competitive that way and make a lot of money, as you say, for a very tiny number of people. So Singapore has a lot of poverty. It also has a huge number of billionaires for such a small country.
Yeah. But I mean, I assume in Singapore, some of the money trickles down and the people who aren't billionaires are fairly happy about it. Is that true?
Well, no, I don't think it is. I think in Singapore, as here, we have more of a trickle-up economy than a trickle-down economy. So you think about people in this country, if they do get a pay rise, most people are renting. So actually, what can happen is, if everybody gets a pay rise, the landlords just raise the rents, and so who actually gets the pay rise? It's the landlords. So a lot of things can just trickle up. Anything which is a monopoly enables you also to trickle it up towards yourself, and we have an awful lot of things provided by private monopolies now, which mean that actually the money will tend to trickle up. So this idea of automatic trickle down is a nice idea, but I haven't seen a lot of evidence for it.
It's one more fiction. Okay, so but
it's one more fiction.
Singapore, I mean, great food, lots of money around. Presumably everyone's very happy there, or do you know otherwise?
Well, I do know otherwise because I don't know if you're aware, every year there's a World Happiness Survey. And
really?
There are about
nice.
Yeah, there are about 200 countries in the world, a bit over 200, and they survey in, I don't know, 180 of them or something. So in all those countries, in a systematic way, they ask people about the quality of their life, and they produce a ranking of how happy people are with their lives in those countries. And of course, the answer varies from year to year, but actually it's remarkably consistent. There are certain countries which do very, very well year after year after year. And so, the short answer to your question, where are people happy, is Scandinavia, or in fact the Nordic countries. Those countries always come right up at or very near the top of the list.
Let's have a look. We've got this plotted on one of your wonderful graphs, actually. In fact, it's on your website, isn't it? But let's have a look, see if we can get it up on the website. Here we are. So just explain what we're seeing, please.
So, we're seeing two things, actually. We're seeing along the x-axis, we're seeing that World Happiness Ranking score. Right. So on that basis, the further to the right you are, the happier your population is.
Okay.
And the vertical axis, the y-axis, is the median income per capita. So that's the if you like, what does the typical person actually get paid in that country, not the average, because the average could be skewed if you've got some billionaires there, and could be much, much higher. This is what actually happens if you're in the middle of the population.
Okay.
And so you can see that, broadly speaking, happiness and median income go they increase together. If you've got a very low median income, then your population isn't going to be very happy. And if you've got a very high median income, they tend to be happy. And in fact, obviously, I can't show it on this chart, but if you look at other factors like inequality, poverty rates, life expectancy, all of those things correlate as well with happiness.
Sure.
So, actually, the countries which do well, more or less, do well on everything. That's obviously a bit of an exaggeration, but some countries just are better to live in. Even social mobility. We always hear about the American dream, but actually, in America, your chance of bettering yourself is only slightly better than the UK, which is one of the worst of all developed countries. Is much better in Denmark. If you're born poor in Denmark, you've got much more chance of making it than you have if you're born in the States. So I can't remember who it was that said it, but somebody said, the American dream isn't dead, it's alive and well, but it's living in Denmark.
Extraordinary. Each time I talk to you, I learn something amazing each time. All right, let's just say we elect you benevolent dictator. Hopefully you wouldn't want the job, but say you were.
I wouldn't.
But no, I know you wouldn't, which is hypothetical. But let's say you were, and tomorrow, what would your first actions be in the UK?
Well, first act would be a democratic reset. We've talked about how just the other day, actually, we talked at some length about how the various checks and balances that we need are being eroded. Now, let's suppose I were Prime Minister. Even if I do a good job, I might be re-elected once, but then sooner or later, another party will get in. If those checks and balances are not in place, it doesn't matter whether I've done a good job or not, because they can undo them all at a great rate. And so the checks and balances are the most important thing. So democratic reset would be the first action. Second action, we've also talked a great deal about all the myths that we have been fed and which have driven policy. So the second thing would be to say we're going to move away from myth-based policy and we're going to have resolutely fact-based policy. And we probably need, as part of that, to change the structure of debates in the House of Commons. Because when did you ever see a chart like the one that you just showed now being shown in the House of Commons? They never see any facts in there. They just hear rhetoric. And whoever's more skilled with words will come up with a better rhetoric. It's got nothing to do with reality.
It's depressing, actually, isn't it?
Getting reality facts into the policy making. Then the third thing, I don't know if you remember, about a week ago, probably Rowena asked a question about policy. What have we had too much of?
Yeah, absolutely.
You remember we had that picture which said, we want to grow the pie faster and share it more fairly. So the third one would be to say, okay, we're going to formulate policy using that framework. The fourth one would then be to say, well, we're going to invest wisely in the future. As you pointed out yourself, we've been underinvesting in all sorts of things for many years now. And actually, the wise thing to do is to invest.
Yes.
Just as, if I have a leaking roof in my house, I don't say, well, the prudent thing is just to let the rain come in because we're a bit short of money. No, the prudent thing is to fix the leak because otherwise the house is going to get dry rot and it's going to cost 10 times as much. So we've been unwisely underinvesting. We need to fix that. And then the final thing is something I don't think have talked about, but we can maybe come back to it on another occasion, which is this business of externalizing costs. So the story of capitalism is wonderful, that if there's a need in society and I, as an entrepreneur, can see that need, I set up a business, and by providing that need, I get rich myself, but I simultaneously do good for society. So in effect, my getting rich is a measure of how much good I've done for society. And that's a lovely story. But, we discussed some of the people who actually are getting rich, and they didn't seem to be the ones who were doing the most good for society. So something's wrong. And fundamentally, what's wrong is what economists call externalisation. That if I run a business, let's say you and I both run a business, and you run yours ethically, but I don't.
Yeah.
So you pay your staff
very
a living
likely,
wage.
But who knows? Yeah, go on.
Yeah, it's very likely. So you pay your staff a living wage, but I don't pay my staff a living wage. I expect them to be getting some in-work benefits, or maybe that the bank of mum and dad will step in and help, or maybe they're just going to live in poverty. But anyway, I'm not going to pay them a living wage. So the rest of society somehow picks up the tab for that difference. You pay your taxes, and I don't pay my taxes. So you're contributing to the upkeep of the roads and the fact that there's a fiber internet infrastructure around the country. But I'm using those things, but I'm not contributing to them. And then finally, you have become carbon neutral, and I'm polluting the hell out of the environment. So the rest of society is picking up the tab. So I've got a lower cost base than you, actually. That's what it comes down to. We're both doing the same thing. My costs are lower. I'm more profitable. I drive you out of business. So at the moment, ethical businesses have the playing field tilted against them. And that's why whenever they get together and they pledge they're going to behave better, it doesn't have any impact, because it doesn't actually address that fundamental problem that the playing field is tilted against them. So the fifth step, and this is one of the things that we've got projects looking at, is creating clean competitive markets that level that playing field and mean that the ethical business will outcompete the unethical one rather than the other way round. So that if I were Prime Minister, those would be the first 5 things I would do.
Fantastic. Oh, you've got my vote. Absolutely, you've got my vote. I can't see Boris Johnson doing this. Can you, really? I mean, are there some... Give me some hope here, because we are talking hope now. Are there some Tories, some Conservatives, who actually do think like this?
Well, I think there are. I think I don't know how many of them are left in the party, but
because there's been a big purge, hasn't there?
There has been a purge, but the traditional Tory wouldn't agree with me on everything, but they would agree on a lot of these things. That this idea that capitalism should be cleaned up, that's absolutely something that Tories have said very explicitly. The idea that you need to look after the disadvantaged, One Nation Tories believe that. So there definitely are Tories who believe in those things. There are obviously Liberals who believe in it. There are obviously Green members, and there are obviously Labour Party members who believe in it. So actually, I think to some extent what I'm saying are things that most people can agree with if they had the facts to understand how to formulate policy accordingly. If there are any politicians listening, please do get in touch, because one of the things we want to do is to work with politicians who are aligned with that way of thinking and want to know how they could be reshaping their policy portfolios. We were there to help you.
Yes, I understand that, and this has been quite a hopeful show, actually. I do like to be hopeful, because people feel so down at the moment about what's going on. And in some ways, it is depressing when you actually start to learn some of the facts that are in Mark's book, 99%. You can get it 99.redhammer.tv. That'll take you straight through to the Kindle or the paperback version. It is a little depressing when you learn the facts, but it's also empowering. It's a first step towards moving forwards to what I'm increasingly believing, actually, is the only hope for our future. So anyway, we're going to be back with you tomorrow. Leave us any questions for Mark. right here underneath in the comments section on YouTube. Any reactions to our series of videos so far? Also, if you'd like us to extend them, or if you had too many already, let us know. We'll see you tomorrow.